This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle SLADE.
And I'm Jay Cohn. Tonight we focus on what's considered a silent problem, children who have no place to call home.
The numbers may shock you, but they're real, just like the kids who live day to day, not knowing where they will spend the night or eat their next meal.
We see it every day, homelessness, but what many don't see are the hundreds of children who are homeless here in our community.
Q2's Samantha Harrelson takes us inside the issue and brings us one story of perseverance.
I remember I was going to take a shower and my mom came in and was like, "Get out." She grabbed my backpack and threw it out the door, and she kicked me out and pushed me out the door and locked the door. At that point, I felt nothing. Like, I wasn't sure where to turn, where to go.
It's hard to imagine Bethany Taylor's life. She had just started her freshman year of high school when her mother, addicted to drugs, kicked her out. But her story isn't necessarily unique. She's one of the hundreds of kids in School District 2 who are considered homeless.
Last year we had a total of 621 kids. So far this year we have 258 that have been identified. That number is a cumulative number, so by the end of this school year that number will have increased.
Homelessness in our schools takes form in many different ways. It's families living in hotels or shelters, kids living in their cars. For Beth, it was spending a year between friends' houses and motels before being accepted into the Tumbleweed housing program.
As soon as I moved into Tumbleweed, I remember taking my first shower, and it was just a sigh of relief knowing I had hot water and I didn't have like a 5 minutes to take a shower and get out.
Bethany is now one of 5 high school seniors living in the house. For these young adults and others facing homelessness, finding affordable housing can be next to impossible.
One of the things that I think we've noticed across all of our programs is the lack of affordable housing and the ability to get housing if you don't have a rental history, if you don't have a credit history, the ability to even get into a house.
Tumbleweed partners with School District 2 to help these students navigate a life much different than that of their peers.
Some of them have never ever had anybody say, "I believe in you and I know you can do this." It may take a while, but that's okay because it'll get there. And so some of them have never ever heard that and don't believe it at all. There is a huge portion of the youth we work with that have had just horrible experiences with adults. So the large part of what's important about what we do as well is just building that relationship, modeling that there is healthy people in the world, that you can have a relationship with an adult and not get, as the kids would say, screwed over or whatever it may be, that there are people that really genuinely want you to do better.
There are Tumbleweed counselors at all of the high schools, as well as programs to accommodate the students' specific needs.
A lot of times kids think the short term, because I need money so that I can get a place of my own, whereas long term, it's a longer term commitment to get your high school diploma and work towards that. So we kind of have to balance that with the kids and say, yes, we know you have to work. Can we work around your schedule a little bit? Is there something we can do to help you with that?
Thank you for your help and, what does that say? Bravery and honor and service. That looks good.
Bethany plans to graduate in May, and her motivation comes from helping others overcome, just as she has.
The Boys and Girls Club has been my anchor through my whole entire life. Okay, are you done with yours? Definitely seeing people that were just even and come from the same backgrounds and at the same place, and have seen them go into drugs and alcohol, and just that's their support, is being able to drink and do drugs and all that kind of stuff. But one thing that really just keeps me going is knowing that there are kids at club and other people around Billings and my mentors looking to me and looking up to me, and I don't want to disappoint them. And I want them to be able to look up at me and be like, hey, Beth did it and so can I.
Bethany has made the best of an unimaginable situation, but it's a cycle not easy to break. And for each success story, there are the kids that just don't make it.
When a kid comes and really needs a lot of help and then we never see him again, I don't know if hopeless is the right word, but it gets worrisome. Like, I wonder what happened to that kid. Did we do everything we could in that 1 5-minute piece of time to make sure that they have everything they need to survive? Which sounds very dramatic, but a lot of it really is life and death stuff.
In Billings, Samantha Harrelson, MTN News.
Thank you so much, Samantha. By the way, if you'd like to help, Senior High School is starting to gather up gift cards to give to students in need for the upcoming holidays.
Some of the things they look for are gift cards for gas, groceries, or even a place near the school so the kids can grab lunch with friends. You can call or drop off donations during school hours. In other news tonight, as lawmakers kick off a special session to deal with the state's $227 million budget hole, many Republicans say they do not like Governor Steve Bullock's tax hike proposals. So, as MTN's Mike Dennison reports, Republicans have come up with a proposed tax expansion of their own.
Right now, the biggest health insurer in the state, Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Montana, pays a 2.75% premium tax on most of its business. But two other smaller nonprofit competitors do not, Pacific Source and the Montana Health Co-op. Majority Republicans are proposing to extend the tax to the two nonprofit insurers.
From our standpoint, this is an equalization move. Why does one insurer have to pay the tax and the other two don't?
The proposal would generate about $12 million over the next 2 years to help fill the state's budget hole. Then, starting in 2020, the overall tax would be lowered to 2% for all health insurers. Blue Cross is backing the plan, saying it helps the state and levels the playing field for insurers.
We're here because the state is short revenue to the tune of $227 million. So I think the state is ready to find a way to fill the fire fund, create some tax equity, and from a long-term standpoint, create a tax decrease for the majority of Montanans.
But as you can imagine, the smaller insurers don't quite see it that way. A lobbyist for Pacific Source says Blue Cross agreed to pay the premium tax in 2013 as a condition of its purchase by a multi-state, multi-billion-dollar corporation in Chicago. Though Blue Cross says its Chicago parent operates as a nonprofit, she disagrees.
There's no way Blue Cross Blue Shield under HCSC is a nonprofit. I think right now they're counting on people's memories to slip and in the speed of the special session to make this decision and calling it an equity. I see it as them lowering their taxes and us having a tax increase passed on to our members.
Blue Cross has about 300,000 customers in Montana. Between the two of them, the Co-op and Pacific Source have about 70,000 customers. Blue Cross's Doran insists that his company is not trying to put the muscle on its competitors and that Montana as a whole will benefit from the tax change.
There's no reason to assume that just because we have tax equity that anyone's going to leave the market.
The premium tax change is the only tax increase being proposed solely by Republicans here at the special session. In the coming days, we'll find out which tax increases will be approved and which will not. At the Capitol, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Thanks, Mike. And the special session convenes tomorrow in Helena and is expected to last several days.
Alabama Republican Senate candidate Roy Moore is not backing down despite mounting calls on Capitol Hill for him to drop out of the race.
Today, a fifth woman came forward accusing the 70-year-old of sexual misconduct when she was a minor. And we need to warn you, some of the allegations are quite graphic.
Well, Alengi has the latest for us tonight from Capitol Hill.
This is absolutely false.
A defiant Roy Moore held an impromptu press conference in Alabama Monday evening addressing the latest claim of sexual misconduct against him.
I never did what she said I did. I don't even know the woman.
Earlier in the day, Beverly Young Nelson described how the Alabama Senate candidate allegedly assaulted her decades ago when she was just 16.
Mr. Moore reached over and began groping me and putting his hands on my breasts.
Nelson says the attack occurred after the then district attorney offered to drive her home from the restaurant where she worked. She says the regular customer even left this note behind in her high school yearbook, calling her a sweet and beautiful girl.
This is a political maneuver and has nothing to do with reality.
Moore has called the allegations against him a witch hunt, but even more Republicans are now calling on him to step aside.
He should not be a United States Senator.
Senate Majority Whip John Cornyn, who pulled his endorsement for Moore Monday, addressed whether the Senate should vote to expel him if he wins.
I think that's way down the road. We'll see. Wait and see what happens.
Even before the latest accuser came forward, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said he had heard enough.
I believe the women, yes.
Senator McConnell says the party is exploring whether another Republican could mount a successful write-in campaign should Moore stay in the December race. Mola Lengi, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And late today, Texas Senator Ted Cruz also pulled his endorsement for Moore, saying he could not urge the people of Alabama to support the campaign in the face of the charges.
Whitefish, Montana got a special visit today. The U.S. Capitol Christmas tree pulling into town. It's on its journey from Montana to Washington, D.C. Its eventual destination, the west lawn of the Capitol building. Now, this tree comes from the Kootenai National Forest in northwest Montana, and this is just the start of its 15-day, 3,000-plus mile journey to the nation's capital. It's being hauled by an 80 by 30-foot trailer. The big tree will make whistle stops in 20 communities in 6 states along the way to Washington. That tree due to be delivered to the Capitol on Monday, November 27th.
Pretty fun. Turning to weather, it's Turkey Tuesday in just a few hours, Bob. So how's our forecast looking?
Well, I think the three of us are going to do okay, but Victoria Hill and Ed McIntosh, they're going to be running into some issues. Let me show you our Turkey Tuesday forecast. It looks like in the morning it's going to be about 35 degrees. We have a 20% chance for rain or rain mixing with snow. Then by noontime it's going to be 41 and mostly cloudy, mostly sunny by 3 o'clock in the afternoon and 42 by 5 p.m. Generally clear skies, west wind about maybe 13 miles per hour. It's going to be a nice looking evening for us. It'll even stay fairly comfortable. So our forecast is looking very nice for tomorrow, and then actually could even get back into the 50s again by the time Thursday gets here. We'll chat about that in a few more minutes.
All right, thank you, Bob.
British rock singer and songwriter Rod Stewart will make his first trip to Montana when he performs here in Billings next April.
Metro Park announcing a Billings stop for Rod Stewart's live in concert tour. He's set to perform here Saturday, April 14th at the Rimrock Auto Arena. Stewart is one of the best-selling artists in history, with an estimated 200 million records sold worldwide.
Tickets go on sale Friday and range in price from $40 to $130. They can be purchased at the Metro Park box office or online.
Still to come on tonight's 10 o'clock news. Just months before his assassination, President John F. Kennedy paid a visit to the Magic City. We'll turn back the clock in tonight's Q2 Rewind.
And later in sports, Scott checks in with both your Cats and Grizz, setting up Saturday's showdown.
You're watching MTN News with Jay Cohn and Jeanelle SLADE. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire and sports with Scott Green. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.